I've played tons of games, and throughout my retro gaming journey, there's been so many different settings. I found myself in mystical lands, aboard ships, fighting through fortresses and castles, but my favorite setting has always been outer space. I think it's because I know I'll never see it, and that makes experiencing it in a game so much cooler. Today's episode is going to talk about my top 10 games based in outer space or on foreign planets on the NES. With that being said, let's begin. The NES Zapper had a bunch of games, and they all vary in difficulty. Some of them are laughably easy, some just loop indefinitely, and some are incredibly hard, and by some, I mean this one, To the Earth. It was created by a very obscure company as well, Cirque Vert, of which this was their only game, and that's sad because it is tremendous fun. Much like a majority of the Zapper titles, this one involves us shooting very specific things, for example, missiles, spaceships, asteroids, meteors, whatever comes our way. Where it gets difficult is that with each of our shots that we miss, our shield goes down. If you do take the time to play this, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how challenging it can be. And it's not a bullshit challenge, it's a genuine one, which I will take over shitty programming any day. It's also really affordable. This game isn't rare, and if you have $10 to throw towards buying a game, then by all means consider this one. Usually when I see absolute entertainment, certain orifices of my body turn inside out. I have historically never been impressed by Absolute in any capacity, and my first experience with them was Rise of the Robots, but they also published Power Tool Pursuit. All of these games were created by their in-house development studio, Imagineering, and they all suck massive dick, except for this game. I didn't know what to expect when I played this. I mean, what possibly could a game about the Space Shuttle project be about, especially on the NES? Was it going to be like Kerbal Space Program? Is this just a simulator like we would see from Microprose? And the answer to both of those questions is no. This game is more like a series of mini-games, but the interesting thing is that these mini-games are all actual things astronauts would need to do. We go from an initial launch all the way until we land. Now, I don't know if there's much in the replayability realm, but for a one-off game, it's actually pretty cool. Alien Syndrome is a very well-known Sega game. In fact, it's one of their most successful arcade games, which isn't saying much because Sega was pretty badass in the arcades. They're one of the major companies that made headway in providing quality arcade entertainment. I'm a huge fan of run and gun games, and Alien Syndrome has always been up there for me as a great example of the genre done right. In the game, we play as either Ricky or Mary, and our whole job is to go through different stages, finding and rescuing our teammates who are being held captive by aliens. While we are doing this, there is actively a time bomb that acts as time pressure or the level time. Once we rescue everyone, we take on a level boss, and we move on to the next stage. There are 7 stages in total, and the game loops if you beat them, but this is the NES version, an unlicensed game from Tengen, and likely one of the best unlicensed games on the NES, period dot. We have a little more in the plot department, and there's an intro and an ending should you decide to go all the way through it. As a port, this really isn't bad. Time for another arcade conversion, this time from another powerful company, Capcom. It's also one of the first non-1942, non-Street Fighter games I ever played from Capcom. In fact, this was the first NES game I collected from them, so in some ways, I hold it in high regards just for that fact alone. But in the arcades, this game is interesting. It's a side-scrolling shooter with an 8-way joystick. It has 2 buttons, one for shooting, one for changing directions, and naturally, this translated beautifully to the NES. After all, we only had 2 buttons, and we had a D-pad. Now, fundamentally, this game is slightly different from the arcade version, but mostly in the level flow kind of way. In the arcades, we would go through 26 different corridors labeled A to Z, with the final boss being L Brain. But on the NES, there's only 20 sections, of which all are full levels, and we don't need to go to every section to beat the game. Instead, we need to find power generators at certain sections and finally beat the boss. It's a wonderfully fun arcade game, and I always recommend it to folks who want a good, clean, fun arcade experience on the NES. This is an interesting game. It's also an expensive game developed by Tamtex and published by Irem. Metal Storm is a game that has no business being as awesome as it is. It looks great, it plays great, and for an action platformer on a console that was riddled with subpar platforming experiences, this was one of the best ones. Have you ever played Mega Man 5? Remember the stage that makes the polarity of gravity change? That's what this game is all about. It's the core mechanic. We play as an M308 gunner who has to journey to Pluto to destroy a laser weapon that's gone haywire. To me, this is one of the most advanced and intuitive titles on the NES, period. The animation, the usage of quality parallax scrolling, the game was a milestone for what the NES was capable of, and not many developers dared to do that. More often than not, they played it safe. But again, this is an expensive game. It usually goes for about $120 loose and upwards to $300 complete in box, minimum. So worst comes to worst, pop it into an emulator. Oh, Galaga. We all have that one arcade game that defined our childhood, and in some cases, opened our eyes to just how fun arcade video games can be. For many of us, myself included, Galaga was that game. We remember seeing those raster graphics smoothly scrolling. We can recall the smells of the arcade and the sounds that bounced off our eardrums like a welcoming challenge, that electric feeling when the game began. It was a sensory overload made in heaven, and I would do anything to experience that again. Now, I'm a stickler for Galaga because it was the first arcade game I ever played, and it launched my interest in vertical shooters. It was my dad's favorite game, and I even have it tattooed on my body. Ask to see it sometime. I love showing my arcade sleeve tattoo on stream. But I was skeptical about playing this on the NES, and to be honest, I was surprised. Great job, Namco. The game is just a peach hair away from being an authentic arcade experience. I mean, obviously it's more squatty in terms of aspect ratio, given that it's meant to be played on a TV, but that's fractional. From point A to B, this took me back to a much better time in my life. So Abadox was one of the first games I gave the revenge treatment to on the NES. Why? Because this game is harder than a toddler's head when they decide it's time to headbutt your kneecaps. It's rough. But that roughness is warranted. It's a genuine challenge that never stops, and I didn't care to go back and check it out for a while. Then I started learning about Natsume as a company, and lo and behold, they made Abadox. Now the story is simple. It's the year of our Lord 5012, and the planet of Abadox has been eaten by parasitis. Because it's consumed the planet, the aliens are able to transform themselves into the planet and actively seek to destroy and consume other planets. Our job as Second Lieutenant Nazal is to go inside of Abadox and rescue Princess Maria, and then get the hell out of Dodge before it's too late. It's a fun game, and it combines elements of both vertical and horizontal shooters, which at the time I had only experienced with Salamander, so it was refreshing to know that other companies were willing to take on that style of shooter. Again, this game will kick your butt, but if you're okay with that, give Abadox a shake. I think it's clear by now, I love my vertical shooters, especially when they take place on foreign planets. And if you like vertical shooters that take place on foreign planets, then you might have a love-hate relationship with the people who took that concept and just booked with it. Compile, the folks who are known for the Aleste series. Now, my first encounter with Compile was their absolute spine-rippingly difficult vertical shooter, Gun-Nac. And I'm not a fan of Gun-Nac for a few reasons. Number one, the developers had way too much fun creating the enemies. If it existed on their desk or with an eye shot, it was in the game. Be it light bulbs, carrots, a bottle of water, they didn't care. Number two, they decided to put in the system where if you're doing well, the game punishes you by adapting to your skill, and to me that screams, fuck you, you're not allowed to have fun. But another game with the knack aspect in the title, also made by Compile, was Gun-Nac, and for whatever reason, this game maintains all the same buffoonery from an artistic standpoint, but it's stupid fun, like holy shit fun. The game really lets you just shoot it out with the enemies. I mean, it's not devoid of a challenge, but damn man, I actually enjoyed checking this out for as long as I did. I don't know if this was meant to be more accessible, but it is more fun. This game is a cult classic, and it's a cherished one for a few reasons. One, the music is one of the best examples of chiptune music the NES could create. Two, it's really difficult. And 3, it's one of the best games ever created by Sunsoft. And it's funny to think this was supposed to be a licensed Terminator game. Obviously, the rights were lost, and LGN or whatever bottom barrel scraping anal goblin picked up the rights, did what they did with the IP. But Sunsoft pushed forward, changed the story a little bit, changed the graphics, and gave us one of the biggest sleeper hits on the NES. We play as Jay McRae, who's on a revenge mission to avenge his father's death at the hands of a terrorist group. We go through 5 stages fighting tons of robots and dying, a lot. But the good news is, the whole time you're dying, you're listening to the compositional genius of Naoki Kodaka, and that's worth the price of admission alone. The final game on our list today is The Guardian Legend. The Guardian Legend stands as one of the NES's most ambitious and underappreciated masterpieces. It seamlessly blends top-down exploration with vertical shoot-'em-up action, offering a dual-genre experience that was way beyond its time. You play as the Guardian, a biomechanical heroine tasked with stopping a doomsday weapon from reaching Earth. The game's maze-like overworld is rich with secrets, upgrades, and a quiet sense of solitude, punctuated by high-intensity shooting segments that really test your reflexes and your endurance. The soundtrack, though, it's one of my favorite things. It's atmospheric, it's emotional, it's melodic, it enhances the sense of scale and danger that looms over every single corridor and every corridor boss. To me, it's not just a game, it's a glimpse into what the NES was capable of when developers truly gave a shit and dared to experiment. To this day, the Guardian Legend remains a shining example of creativity, depth, proper marketing of video games, excellent box artwork, pure excellence in the 8-bit era. And that's it for today's episode. What did you think of this list? What are your favorite space-themed games for the NES? Feel free to let us know down in the comment section below. Who knows, maybe you'll create a positive memory for someone else in the community. Speaking of our community, if you made it to the end of this episode, you're already home with us. We're a gathering of video game enthusiasts that love remembering a time when life was just a little bit easier to live, and if you align with that, feel free to subscribe. Finally, the single most important thing you could do for me is to hit that thumbs up button, as it directly impacts the visibility of the videos and the projects that I work on every single day. As always, from my family to your family, good energy, good vibes. Fortefyre out.